Okay, so for years, the CMA, the comparative market analysis, it's been the absolute bedrock of any listing presentation. But what if I told you that the way most of us present it is, well, it's actually hurting our credibility? In this explainer, we're going to break down how that single price point can become a huge liability and how a really simple shift can protect your reputation and build way more trust. This quote just nails it. Giving a number like, say, $487,500, it feels so precise, right? Like you've really done the work. But that very precision, man, it sets an expectation that the market, which is anything but predictable, almost never lives up to. And this is what I call the precision trap. And look, even the best, most detail-oriented agents fall into this. It's not your fault. It's kind of just baked into the way we've always done CMAs. What you think is an estimate, well, it transforms into something else entirely in your seller's head. Great. So here's where the big disconnect happens. You, the expert, present that $487,500 number as your professional, educated analysis, an estimate. But what does the seller hear? They hear a promise. That number becomes their anchor, and now every single offer that comes in gets measured against it. So fast forward 6 weeks. They end up taking an offer for, let's say, $455,000. Boom. Right there, that's a $32,500 gap. And it's not just a money gap, it's a credibility gap. And honestly, it doesn't matter why. The market could have shifted, the buyer could have been a tough negotiator, none of that matters. To the seller, you promised one thing and delivered something else. It's a direct hit to your reputation, and it's totally preventable. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about you being a bad agent. Not at all. The problem is with the method itself. And to really get why, we've got to pull back the curtain and look at all the hidden uncertainties inside every single CMA. Think about it. A CMA is really just a stack of educated guesses, layered on top of a bunch of approximations. And when you stack guess on top of guess, you don't get more precise. You just get more and more uncertainty piled up. I mean, just think about the basics, right? The comps you use, they're similar, but they are never, ever identical. And that adjustment you make for the updated kitchen or the finished basement, that's an educated guess. A good one maybe, but still a guess. Plus, the market can literally change overnight. Each one of these steps introduces another variable, making a single super precise number, well, it's basically a fantasy. Okay, so if the single number is a trap, what's the way out? It's about giving the honest answer, the one the data actually supports. And this isn't about being wishy-washy or less confident. It's actually about being more professional and way more accurate. So instead of that false precision of one number, you give them a calibrated range. Look, if the comps you found sold anywhere between $460,000 and $510,000, well, guess what? That's the answer. The data is telling you the value is somewhere in that zone, not at one magical point. This is such a key mindset shift. A range doesn't hide the truth, it reflects it. It's not a sign of weakness or that you don't know. It is the most honest picture of what the market is actually doing. It shows the seller the zone where a real willing buyer is probably going to land. That's the truth. So I know what you might be thinking. Won't a range just make me look like I don't know the answer? Actually, it's the exact opposite. Because using a range completely changes the conversation. You stop debating a single price point and start talking about strategy. Presenting a range protects you and your credibility in 4 really powerful ways. First, it shows you're a true expert because you're explaining the market, not just pulling a number out of a hat. Second, it sets realistic expectations from day one. Third, and this is huge, it opens the door to a real strategic conversation. Instead of arguing, you're now partners. You're asking, okay, to get to the top of this range, what do we need to do? Or if an offer comes in at the bottom here, what's our game plan? And finally, it just acknowledges what sellers already kind of feel in their gut, that this isn't an exact science. And to be clear, this isn't about just pulling a range out of thin air. There's a method to it, and it's called calibrated confidence. It's a really simple but powerful idea. The better your data, the tighter your range. The weaker your data, the wider your range has to be. It just makes sense, right? This framework here really lays it all out. If you've got 5 or more great, recent comps, your confidence is high, so you can give a nice tight range, maybe plus or minus 5%. But if you're scraping by with like less than 3 older comps, your confidence is low, so you have to be honest and present a wider range, maybe 10% or even more, to reflect that uncertainty. At the end of the day, this all boils down to your single most important asset as an agent, your credibility. This isn't about just closing one deal. This is about playing the long game.
It's about building a rock-solid reputation as the agent who is honest, who is accurate, and who tells it like it is.
I mean, this chart really says it all. When you give a single price, you might get it right, but it's mostly by chance. With a calibrated range, you're right by design. And guess what clients remember and what they tell their friends about? Being right.
It's a really simple equation, isn't it? Being right, giving accurate advice, that builds credibility. And credibility is what generates referrals, period. Now, putting this whole philosophy into practice, it doesn't have to be some big, complicated thing. There are tools out there, like CMAflow, for example, that can generate these kinds of reports with the confidence calibration and ranges built right in like a minute. So the next time you're prepping for a listing appointment, just ask yourself this one question. Is my CMA building trust or is it creating risk? The choice is yours.